Hey, what's going on YouTube? That's it, TZ here. Wanted to show you guys something I put in here. I am having a little trouble with it. So I don't know, maybe you guys can help me out with this. I think it's something that I can personally fix on my own. But what I got here is the Apex trigger, the flat face trigger, the drop-in from Apex. It's under 50 bucks. Picked it up from Midway USA. I got it in, and I did have a little issue with it, and I'll see if I can replicate it for you guys. I'm gonna take it apart again. I believe that the issue is something that I can fix. It's very small, and I don't believe that it will require Apex to me sending this trigger in or anything like that. So let's go ahead and look at it. Just so you guys can see, the gun is clear. There's nothing in the chamber. And what we're going to do here is pull the trigger so you guys can see this. And actually what's happening is the trigger is hanging up a little bit, and you can feel it as you pull the trigger. It's a very, very, very nice trigger pull, crisp take up and break. So my camera is trying to focus on my hand and not the gun. But here, we'll pull the slide back here so you guys can see this, and I'll see if I can get it to hang. Let's see if it does it. Yeah, there we go. All right, it doesn't do it every time, but as you can see, the trigger is back on its own, and there's just a little bit of friction in the trigger. Initially, I thought it was an issue with the trigger spring, but if I tap the gun here just a little bit, you'll see that the trigger will fall forward. So you'll see that the trigger does fall forward. So what it is, and I can feel it. There's just a little bit of binding up here somewhere in the trigger. So what I'm gonna have to do is take this apart and look at it and see if I can't maybe buff out that area where it's binding. I did clean the gun and everything like that, so shouldn't be an issue as far as dirt goes. And what I thought was I had damaged the return spring, and as you can see, that trigger returns quite well. I think one of the things and another upgrade would be the over travel spring, and the Apex trigger bar would be an awesome upgrade as well. What I have in here is just a drop-in trigger. I don't know if anybody else has experienced this. If you've just put in the drop-in trigger and you're having this issue, please let me know. But again, I don't think this trigger needs to go back to Apex. I think it's just something that I can fix. Literally, I can do like 100 trigger pulls and it will not do that. So I'm anxious to get it to the range, put some rounds through it to see if it does it when I'm firing. Other than that, I've got this upgrade in it right now, and I also purchased the X carry size frame as well. I don't have any magazines yet for this, but what I am planning on doing is also getting the full size frame and running the Parker Mountain machine, their Gen 2, their JTTC comp, the single port, as like a competition gun or a range gun. I probably won't carry that for concealed carry. And what I'd like is to do something like this with a red dot, maybe a tricked out frame, but not to overly do it. But that's pretty much it, guys. If you've got any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. If you have experienced this issue with the Apex flat face trigger for the p320, please let me know. Again, don't think it's an issue where the trigger needs to go back to Apex or be returned or anything like that. I do believe it's an issue that I can fix, and so that's what I'm going to work on here now. Thanks for watching. Please be safe. Yeah, so unfortunately the trigger didn't work out. I broke the gun down. I cleaned it up again. The issue where I thought it was binding up, and I'll show you guys. I'll go ahead and take it apart. And what I've got on here now is the carry frame. What I had in the previous videos was the compact frame. So I just need to get some magazines. I've got some mags coming in from Mag Warehouse, and I'll be able to carry this and be like a full size 40. Just until I've already got a 9mm barrel, but until I can get a 9mm slide and then some 9mm magazines. So yeah, but the unfortunate part was the apex trigger just did not work in this gun. I'll go ahead and break it down so you guys can see and show you guys. The gun is clear. Again, we're just doing a refresh, an update video basically from the previous one. But we'll go ahead and take it down, and I'll show you guys where I thought that it was binding up. So once I got it apart, and I actually had the apex trigger on here, I was just kind of moving it back and forth to see and to try and feel where it was binding up at. And where I found where it was binding up at was right in that little space where you see daylight at, where the over travel bar is. There was some material. I actually removed just a little bit of the material so it wouldn't grind up like that, and put it back together. Was still having issues. I took it apart again, started looking at it, and I could not figure out where it was. So unfortunately, I just kind of gave up on it at that point. I didn't really see the need to continue to keep looking for areas where it was binding up at when it shouldn't have been doing that at all. I've taken it apart, I've put it together, I've taken it apart and put it together. Originally, I thought maybe I had done some damage to the return spring here. I thought maybe I had bent it a little bit too much, or had bent it a whole lot. So what I decided to do was to put the original trigger back in and see if that solved the issue, and sure enough it did. So we'll put the original, or I've got the original trigger in right here. We'll go ahead and put it in a grip module. Slide it into place. It's always a little bit more difficult to put it back together than it is take it apart, but here we go. Getting everything lined up. There we go. All right, now we'll get the slide back on and rack it a couple times, make sure that the trigger is reset, and we'll give it a pull. And now we'll rack the slide, and we will release the trigger, and it just resets. You can feel it. So I know it's not the trigger spring. Trigger spring's fine. The return spring, I mean, everything's working there. Having this trigger in here, I can certainly tell the difference, and how much better the apex trigger does feel. I mean, I thought this trigger was nice out of the box, but it's actually crap compared to the apex trigger. But unfortunately, that one is not 100% reliable. So yeah, I'm a little disappointed in that. I don't think it's all apex triggers. I think maybe this one is just a dud. I'm not sure where it's hanging up at. I tried, several ways to find where the friction is coming, and it's just enough to get the trigger to hold back and stay pinned. And then again, like if you see in the video, just tapping the gun and it'll reset. So unfortunately, that's a no-go. But hey, maybe I can get in touch with Apex and get a replacement for this trigger. But otherwise, thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below, and I'll have some more material out to you soon. Peace.